Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever. So yeah, it's been a week since I put a video out. Did another camping trip this past weekend. Had a 4-day weekend. So had a good time. Took some time off, relaxed. It was great. Caught 4 fish. Wonderful. So, been on Facebook the last couple hours, and all I can say is there are a bunch of people that are so indoctrinated. It's mind-boggling to me. I've done a couple series or a couple videos on neuro-linguistic programming, showing people how things are worded, how the media uses certain narratives, certain language, certain specific words to create a reaction that they want from you or from the general population. And I'm watching it unfold again with this whole Floyd thing in Minnesota. So let me set this straight for the record from the beginning. I'm not defending the cop, and I'm not defending Floyd. I say that because I don't know all the circumstances of what happened. Yes, I've seen the video. I've seen people die before, so I'm not as shocked, if you will, as a lot of people that have never seen anything like that before. But, I mean, I can pick apart parts of the videos where the cop was correct. I can tell you when the cop was wrong, when Floyd was right, when Floyd was wrong, etc. But I don't want to get into that because I don't know enough of the details. I don't know the backstory. I don't know what else, from beginning to end of this situation, all the details. So I'm not going to comment on the specifics of what happened. But people's reaction is, I can't think of anything other than sheep. I really can't. So it's aggravating. It's infuriating that people are posting and virtue signaling, not knowing they're virtue signaling. They're falling right in line with the media narrative, even though the media doesn't necessarily know exactly what's going on. It's just, I have a hard time putting words to how you just want to sit there sometimes. I'm watching the world burn, and I have nothing to put the fire out with. I mean, I try with the videos, the NLP stuff, or try to kind of show you different perspective of stuff, but then something like this happens, and people lose their minds, and they have no idea why they feel mad or feel the way they do, because they're being manipulated to feel that way. I'm not going to sit there and tell you I feel one way or the other about the whole situation. I have my feelings about it, but I'm waiting for all the details to come out. I'm waiting for, justice to be served as it needs to be served. Whether it's the cops go to jail, they're arrested for murder, whatever the situation is. I'm not going to pass judgment one way or the other. But if you are the one or the type of person that's out there and, justice for Floyd, and you're backing the rioters now in Minnesota that are tearing their city apart, you're part of the fucking problem. You're the main part of the fucking problem. I mean, we had protesters in Michigan, right? The ones that stormed the governor's or the legislative house in Michigan, demanding that the governor recall her tyrannical bullshit, open the state back up so these people can get back to work. There was no property damage done. There was no threat of violence. There was no rioting in the streets. There wasn't any, spray painting of police cars. There were people who stood up for their rights. There were people not only standing up for their rights, but standing up for everybody's rights, specifically in the state of Michigan in this case, but still, they were standing up for their rights. They had weapons with them, but they were legally allowed to have the weapons. So they weren't even illegally there with weapons, right? But they were evil. They were evil personified. They were, bad people. That's what the media labeled them. They're, incredulous. They weren't following social distancing when they did their drive around. Was it Lansing? I think they did their protest. even though they were inside of their own vehicles. And then when they were out of the vehicles, they were practicing social distancing, right? But oh God, they were evil incarnate. Then you have these rioters. I'm not calling them protesters. They're rioters in Minnesota now. They're being portrayed as, virtuous, and this is what needs to happen to get rid of this, theory that the police are hunting black men. Specifically, white cops are hunting black people. The irony part of that is one of the cops that was there was Asian. Just people need to stop, take a breath, think. Not with this. With this. I know what this does. If that's what drives you, okay, and some people it's a good thing, I guess, but this is what needs to drive you. There were NBC, I put it on my Facebook page, NBC in the same day. In the morning, there was a picture of a bunch of people in the pool, I believe it was in Missouri, the Ozarks, where people were, finally they, opened everything back up, and there's a whole bunch of people in the pool, right? And they were bad people. They're going to get everybody sick, and everybody's going to get COVID, and everybody's going to die, and blah, 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 right? That's how the media portrayed them, right? The same day, there was a picture of the rioters in Minnesota that were all doing the same. They were not socially distancing. Some were, some weren't wearing masks, but they were all congregated together. But they were virtuous. They were soldiers of justice. That's how the media is portraying these people. And if you're posting stuff, if you know the facts and you know what's going on and you're posting as such, fine. But if you're just posting out of an overwhelming emotion that you're finding hard to control, don't. You're perpetuating what the media wants you to perpetuate. This is what the media wants to do. They want to divide us. And I'm reading these things, all these racial shit coming out again. Here we go again, right? Well, there's an easy way to combat racism. Don't. If you read the title, White Cop Kills Black Man, they're perpetuating it, right? It's not one human kills another human. It's not one officer kills suspect. It's white cop kills black man. I posted an article on my page in response to my earlier. There were 2 black cops that shot an unarmed man twice in Chicago in March. Where's the riots? If you don't feel the same animosity about the white guy getting shot by 2 black cops, but you're overwhelmingly pissed off about the black guy shot by killed by the white cop, then you're a fucking idiot. You're programmed and you don't know you're programmed. You're mad about the Floyd case because the media tells you need to be mad about the Floyd case because it fits their narrative about white cops. They buried the story about the 2 black cops that shot the unarmed man in Chicago twice. And you're not mad about that. Why? Because you're perpetuating the race shit that the media is pushing on you. If you want to get rid of racism, get rid of race. What is race exactly? You have race, you have ethnicity, you have heritage, you have culture, you have all these different things, right? Start with this. Get rid of hyphenated American. That's too easy. Everybody's okay with African American or Latin American or Asian American, right? Because there's an obvious physical difference between an Asian person and a black person and a Hispanic person and a white person, right? Okay, we get that, right? But why is there a need for the hyphen? You can be, if you were born in this country and you are a citizen of this country, you are a freaking American. Too easy. How come we don't have German American, Italian American, Scandinavian American, English American? How come we don't have that? You may think and scoff, but stop and think about it. Why don't we have those? Why are all those people grouped together as white? And they're not even white dash hyphen American. They're just white people. But yet we have African American, Hispanic American, whatever American. Get rid of it. If you're born here, raised here, and you're a citizen of this country, you're American. Stop putting a hyphen in there. If you want to, if you're proud of your heritage and your culture, that's by all fine. Celebrate it, promote it, do what you got to do. Wear your that garb of that heritage or that culture. That's fine. I have no issue. That's not an issue. But when you identify yourself as an American. Why can't we start there? Because I'm white and I'm racist and that's a racist thing to say, right? That's what you're programmed to think. Stop thinking that way. You want to get rid of racism? Stop bringing race up in everything. Stop finding racism in everything. Stop planting racism where there is no racism. Family member of mine posted this thing, 75 things white people can do to get rid of racism. Why not 75 things everybody can do to get rid of racism? And but it doesn't matter what your race, color, heritage, culture, ethnicity is. You can be racist. I worked in Miami for 9 months. The people predominantly in Miami are Cuban, Puerto Rican, right? They don't like Mexicans. They kind of hate Mexicans. Mexicans to them are considered the hillbilly redneck of the Latin world. But they can't be racist because they are somehow a minority. I grew up in the inner city, just outside of the inner city of Flint, Michigan. This is back in the late 70s and early 80s. Race relations weren't the best back then. But I was the minority in that situation. Black people can be just as racist as white people. Black people can be just as racist against white people as they can be against other black people. Just as white people are racist against other white people. You ever heard the term poor white trash? When you call somebody a redneck and it's meant as a pejorative or an insult? Tell me what that is. If I, a white person, called another person poor white trash and meant it as an insult because of that person's upbringing, where they're from, where they live, how they act, whatever, right? Everybody can be and has the potential to be racist, regardless of what the fuck the media is feeding you. And if you really want to get into it, everybody can be considered a minority if you bring in all facets of the way we separate ourselves. But why, if you want to get rid of racism, quit bringing it up. Quit making it a thing. It's a person. It's a human being. It's an American. Whatever. It isn't a black person or Hispanic person. Why does that even need to be part of a story, right? So I'll give you, if a person was targeted solely and specifically because of their race by another race of people, then okay, you have a solid case of actual racism. It doesn't matter the races of the two parties. That's specifically racism. But if you don't have proof of it, if it's just, it happens to be people from different races, where's the racism in it? Oh, there's institutional racism. With your institutional racism, you ever been a white kid in a black city, in a predominantly black neighborhood in the late 70s, early 80s? Have you? Have you ever been a white kid in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood? There's institutional racism. I have an advantage because I'm a white person. I've worked since I was 8 years old. I've pushed around lawnmowers, raked leaves, shoveled snow, had a paper route, did all the bullshit since I was 8 years old. I don't take vacations per se. I don't do, the month of the trip around the world or the trip around the country or any of that stuff. I've worked my ass off for 49 fucking years. But somehow I have some type of innate privilege. Fuck out of here with that shit. And you don't, and for you people that want to go with the whole institutional racism, let's talk about on the economic side of it. You have small business owners you have business owners that are minorities. They get special privileges when it comes to governmental contracts. I have had to deal with these. I know this. Black businessmen, businesswomen, Hispanic, Asian, whatever connotation other than white people, they do the same thing with their business. And predominantly, the minorities will bring their families in to be employees of their business before they hire outside. It's the same thing white people do. But yet it's not, you don't call that institutional racism. Why not? Why don't you call it institutional racism? Business is an institution, in this country anyway. You're free to start whatever business you want to, et cetera, regardless of race, creed, color, sex, orientation, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But if you are whatever particular race you are, and you hire specifically of your race because that person happens to belong to the same race you are, isn't that institutional? But if we caveat it with, okay, this business owner is of this minority group, therefore it's not institutional, so it's okay if they hire in people of the same race. But this other race can't do that. You don't see a problem? You don't see the hypocrisy in this? You don't see where you're being programmed by the media to think this way? I mean, there's a thing going around, the red pill, blue pill thing from the Matrix, right? I can't sit there and say I've been recently red pilled. I've always been red pilled. I've always been kind of an outsider looking in on a lot. Even going through high school, I knew like everybody, but wasn't, and it belonged to a specific group of people. I floated from group to group, right? 24 years of military service, all over the place. I've seen everything from an outside looking in. So I've been red pilled, I'm saying, for my whole life. And I watch stuff happen, and I watch people react, and I'm like, why are you reacting that way? This thing with Floyd, bringing it back to the Floyd thing. This thing with Floyd, why don't you react that way in every issue where the police used unnecessary force and ended up causing injury or death, or harm or death to a suspect, regardless of the race of the police or the race of the suspect? Why do you react differently when it's still a loss or an injury to another human being? If you can't understand that concept, if you want to throw race into it automatically, to stop, you're the problem. It's one human being affecting the life of another human being, or ending the life of another human being. If you're not as pissed off about a black cop killing a white guy as you are about a white cop killing a black guy, you're part of the fucking problem. A lot of people are sheep and don't even know they're sheep. I saw that all day today. And I got people commenting, I got people making, trying to debate, and argue about, this whole race thing. And I'm just going, it's a human life. Why does it have to be about a race? In the case of Minnesota, in the case of Floyd, there was an Asian cop standing right there. It wasn't all, 4 white cops that jumped on this black guy and beat him for no reason. They didn't hunt him down. They were called there for something about fraud or whatever the case was. But there's an Asian cop standing right there. Are you not going to call Asians racist? Or is it just the white cop? The Asian cop you're gonna excuse because he's a minority, but you're gonna focus all your anger on the white cop, or the other cop that was whatever the race was, or the cop that was holding his legs or whatever. Can you not see this? I don't get how people can't see this. I don't get how people can't look at a given set of circumstances and distill the facts from them without sitting there being, I saw the video of this guy being killed, the Floyd incident. And okay, it can be emotional. I totally understand it. But Look at the facts. Most people don't even know the facts yet. There's people that are rioting in Minnesota, destroying property, destroying other people's businesses, destroying other people's houses and apartment buildings and livelihood, injuring other people, injuring other protest or rioters, injuring other police that are there to try to keep some semblance of the peace, try to protect other people's lives and other people's property, which is what they're supposed to be fucking doing. And these rioters are doing it. But they're virtuous. But you're okay with that? You think it's justified that these rioters do this kind of stuff because of this institutional racism? All data shows that's a bullshit narrative. All data shows it's a lie. It's a perpetuated lie. It's nothing but a lie. It's made up bullshit as a means to keep people separated. There was a point made on video I was watching in these states where businesses are making their own coalitions, if you will, saying, fuck you, we are reopening. There's 100 of us. You can't arrest us all at the same time, right? I'm talking about this. I'm bringing it up because of the concept behind it. If 100 or 1,000 businesses in Michigan or Jersey, New York, whatever, the states that are still shut down, did one of those, the state would be almost powerless to do anything against them because they don't have the manpower to go after all of those businesses. You follow me? That's exactly what we could do to our government, the ones that are part of the problem. The same thing we could do to our media, the ones that are perpetuating the problem. If we all stood together collectively and went back to DC and said, this is what you are going to do, that's what they would do. They can't have that. They can't have a coalesced, cohesive populace because then they lose all their power. We have the power. So they want to keep us separated. Watch how they do it. Floyd's the perfect fucking example of this, the most current example of this. Titles of all the news, when the news first broke, white cop kills black man. But yet in the article I talked about where the two black cops shot the unarmed white guy in Chicago is officers shoot unarmed man. You can't, if you can't see that in an article, if you can't see what they're doing to you on the news or on print media or on, Fox News, CNN, whatever, they all do the same damn thing. Watch how they word it. White cop kills black man. Officers shoot unarmed suspect. It's a huge difference. And it makes a huge difference in the reactions of people. Officer kills unarmed suspect. Just another day. White cop kills black man. Oh my God, let's lose our minds and fucking destroy property. Use, people, please, dear God, use the brain you have between your ears. Please start paying attention to what the fuck's going on. Even if you're the one upset about the Floyd thing and you're posting about it, why? Go back and look at your post and see, are you justified in what you said? I didn't really post anything about it because I don't know the facts in the case. Not defending either party, not trying to accuse either party. I just don't know enough about this case to sit there and pass judgment on anybody. It's a horrible thing to happen. I'm not degrading that particular part of it. I'm not belittling the fact that somebody died. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm not going to sit there and post all this stuff and perpetuate and keep pushing what the media wants to push. I'm not going to sit there and say, these white cops are so evil. If the cops are fucked up and found guilty or charged and found guilty, fine, go to fucking jail. I have no issues with that. I think there are some cops that should be in jail. I support cops. They have a hard job. They're like a referee in a football game. Half the people are going to be pissed off at them all the time. they're always the referee, right? Okay, you have, just like in every aspect of human life, you have good people, you have mediocre people, some that are a little sketchy, and then you have some really shitty fucking people. Well, you have the same thing in the military, you have the same thing in police force, you have the same thing in the fire department, EMS, hospitals, food processing, whatever facet of industry you want. There's the same group of people because they all come from the same fucking pool of people. If the cops fucked up and they're charged and found guilty, jail, death sentence, whatever justice is necessary is what justice should be served. But because of people like you that are virtue signaling and also they're bullshit, now what's going to happen is, if the cops deserved, after all the facts and the case comes out and the investigation's done and it comes out where the cops were negligent and they should be charged with, I'm going to say, manslaughter because of all this bullshit, and that's the justice that needs to be served. It's manslaughter because of this bullshit. If they come out with some kind of chump charge of manslaughter, they're going to have another fucking riot on their hands. Well, they're going to come out with second degree murder. They're going to come out with first degree murder, whatever, right? That's what's going to happen. These cops, if they deserve jail time, they deserve jail time. I'm not questioning that. But they don't deserve more jail time than what they deserve. Just like any other person on the planet. If you commit a crime and you're found guilty, there is an appropriate amount of jail time or probation or, fine, whatever, right? Why should you serve or pay more than what's necessary? Same thing applies to these cops, but they're not going to get that kind of justice, because if they do, then everybody in Minnesota is going to riot again, and all you virtue signaling sheep are going to do the same fucking thing, and you're going to keep adding fuel to that fire. Stop it. I implore you. I beg you. Stop it. Remove the hyphen. Use your brain. Think about what you're reading and why things are worded the way they are worded. Start picking out what they're doing. The titles alone should send signals off in your head going, okay, this is stupid. Anyway, it's just me. Yeah. Have a good evening.